able to make it and be able to send that on to us. For those of you who are currently working and may have mentioned to other folks at work regarding the retirement planning seminar tonight, we do have the opportunity to send this video to them to be able to make sure that everyone's a participant. We know that there's a lot going on, and we first want to say thank you for the service that you guys are doing out there. And secondly, we want to make sure that we understand, or you understand, that we're here to be able to provide as much information, be a trusted partner as part of the credit union. And then myself, my services are through CUSO Financial. So I am the registered financial advisor with CUSO Financial Services for the Los Angeles Police Federal Credit Union. I've been working with the credit union for over 4.5 years now. It's been a great relationship. I'm really happy to still continue to work with the credit union and provide as much information as possible to our members. All right, with that, we are going to move into the actual presentation. Okay, I already did my introductions. Okay, so what are the most important financial questions? And the key word here is your. So each individual who's here on the presentation tonight, I'm not going to be able to answer every question that you may have. I might not know the intricate details of your relationship, your financial background, where you are headed towards retirement. But what I want you to know is that each of you has those financial questions, and we're going to try and answer as much as we can, but we're going to basically take a shotgun approach, and we're going to send out a lot of information, and hopefully that will cover some of what you know or want to know, but mostly what we're trying to do is provide as much information as possible. So our objectives for this webinar today is, how much do I need for retirement? That is usually a big question that we have to, kind of discuss on a daily basis. Income in retirement. Where is my money going to be coming from? Will it be enough? And which, buckets should I use first? How should I be invested now and in retirement? So we're going to talk about basic investment options leading up to and in retirement. Best practices for drop. So we have a lot of folks who are either asking the questions about, should I enter drop? Is now a good time? Should I wait? Because we're getting these pay increases in January, and then I get 3%, added to my pension. So drop is a huge question that we want to be able to answer for those of you who are drop eligible. And then just what does it look like for a financial planning consultation with the credit union? Being able to get as much information as possible, and how much does that cost? So I'm going to start with that last part first, and then I'm going to come back to this at the end. So this slide here talks about the Money Guide Pro that we have as a financial planning tool. So for every member, you have the opportunity to get a free consultation, and we will complete a comprehensive financial plan for you that will give you a score that basically says, if I retire at this age, this is what I currently have. This is what I'm going to have to pay for in retirement. Will I be able to afford that? And so this will help to give you more of a visual of, being able to describe what retirement is going to look like for you, and is there any gaps. I'm going to come back to this at the end, but I wanted to make sure I understand that, people have to drop off, or things get, complicated at home, or you might have to be cooking dinner. So again, we appreciate you taking the time to participate, but I want to make sure that we showed this to you. If you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to the credit union. We'll be able to put this together for you to help answer a lot more of your individual questions. Okay, with that being said, let's move forward. So retirement planning really deals with putting together blueprints. What is it that I need to do now? What are the best practices? And in every job that we have, you always hear these tag words of best practices. What is the specific ways that I should be doing things? Well, best practices are going to be different for everybody. But the one thing that we know is if you don't understand what your financial blueprint needs to be today, it's really going to be hard for you to have those answers when it gets time to retire. So the first question that we encounter a lot is, what is the amount of money I need to have saved for retirement? Well, if you take your current income today and you say that I'm going to need about 70 to 80% of my current income to live the same lifestyle in retirement. Okay, well, I have no idea what that means, because I know what my annual salary is, but then they take out taxes and they take out money for pension, and then I put away for retirement. So what am I actually, earning? What am I actually taking home? Well, the first thing to do is figure out what you're getting in your paycheck. What is direct deposited into your bank account? And if you take what's direct deposited into your bank account, multiply it times however many paychecks you receive in a year. If you get paid every 2 weeks, that's 26 paychecks. If you get paid bi-monthly, that's 24 paychecks. So now I know exactly what my current take-home income is. Well, when I'm retired, am I going to need that same amount of money? Because I'm not going to be commuting. I'm not going to have to pay for gas. I'm probably not going to be eating out as much for lunch. I'm not going to be eating out for as much for dinner. So what the first thing that we always communicate to anybody that comes into the credit union about retirement or just financial planning in general is, what is your budget? Have you completed a budget for your household? And this is really challenging. Creating a budget is so tough, because you have your budget in place. You say, this is how much I spend in gas. This is how much I spend in groceries. I want to go out to the movies. I want to go out to dinner. I want to spend this much. And then all of a sudden you get that credit card bill every month and you're like, how did I spend that much money? What happened? Where did it go? And so having a budget and understanding where your money is going so that you don't ask those questions when the credit card shows up, that's an important aspect. So a budget for a 20-year-old who's just out of the household, maybe entering college, a first year, income earner. I just got my first job. I need to know how much my budget is. Am I making enough money? Can I afford to go out, with my friends for dinner? And then in your 30s, 40s, you have families. And then as you're getting closer to retirement, and as you get close to retirement, the budget is extremely important, because you really need to know where your money's going, because you're going to be making less money in retirement. So that budget will dictate all of those. And then how can we identify what we will need in retirement if we don't know what we are spending today? How much are we using today? If we don't have that budget, retirement poses more questions for us. So it's something that it seems elementary, and it completely is, but we would recommend that every household complete that budget, know where your money's going, and then have that aha moment of, holy cow, I spend that much money going out to lunch every day. I've got to bring some lunch, every once in a while to work. All right, the next one is, how am I going to fund retirement? What money am I going to be using to pay for all of the bills that I have that, come in retirement? I might still have a mortgage. I might still have expenses for children. I might be taking care of parents or, other family members who are in need. So where is my money going to come from that I need to spend in other places? So early retirement, you might still be having a part-time or full-time job. You might retire from one position, but go into another one to continue to earn some income. Pension income for any city worker, for, a government employee who has a pension, it's a great benefit that, one, you've paid for, and two, you have earned, right, for your years of service. And that goes a long way. And that usually is the bread and butter for most families who have that available to them. But if you don't have a pension income, well, then where else am I going to get this? I might have to have an annuity. I might be taking withdrawals from my retirement account. And then later in retirement, we talk about Social Security, but you might need that in early retirement. So understanding where is my money going to come from, and looking at each of these as an asset. This is an asset of mine. And the longer I wait to use it, hopefully it accrues more or I can take more from it. If we talk about Social Security. And Social Security is a very tricky one, especially for you government employees who maybe you qualify, maybe you don't. Maybe if I do qualify, I'm going to get the windfall and I'm only going to get a certain percentage. That's something that we can help you to understand if you have those questions, but it's something that you have to treat as an asset. Make sure that you understand that there's value behind it, and I'm going to start withdrawing that when it makes the most sense for my family, and we can help you understand that. And then down at the bottom of the slide, create an income plan, know your budget. I'm going to harp on that throughout this whole presentation, know your budget. All right, the next slide. What will I be spending money on in retirement? All right, this is one of my favorite slides because we start talking about where does my money go? Now, these are things that you're paying for now, a mortgage, rent, utilities, other bills. You have car payments, you have insurance, you have taxes. So taxes are a big one, and who knows what's going to happen with taxes in the future. People are coming into the branches every day and they're asking me, Chris, what happens if Biden wins? He's going to raise taxes. Well, taxes might go up regardless of who's the president, because there's been a lot of money that has been given out by the government to help cover those in need during COVID-19. Somebody's got to pay for that. We've got an increasing, debt here in the United States. And everyone says, well, it's free money. Well, it's not free. We know that. Someone's going to have to pay for it. And those people who have money coming in should expect to pay more in taxes. So what is that going to look like? Now, other things we might be spending money on in retirement. Dependents. We might still have children. They might be going to college. They might not have employment, so we have to help with their expenses. We might have parents that need care. This is something that's not talked about a lot, but we hear it on a day-to-day basis that a parent didn't set enough aside for long-term care, and they're now having to live with family members, and family members are paying for that need or that care. So it's something that it doesn't mean we have to plan for necessarily, but you have to understand that that might be an added expense if that's being asked of you and you're willing to pay for those things. Hobbies. This is an interesting aspect because when you are retired, you have more time to do the things that you wanted to do when you were working. That might be travel, and you want to go to exotic locations. Now, it might not be that expensive, this year or next year, because travel companies are having a hard time getting people to move anywhere or go anywhere, but travel is expensive. Cars, sometimes it's antique cars, or maybe you just need a new car. But cars seem to be, a hobby that people have. I put in their stamp collection. That's always the first thing that I remember as a kid, people talking about as their hobby. They collected stamps. I never did, but this is kind of the tagline for what's your individual hobby, right? For me, it's, sports. I love basketball. I love football. I play fantasy football. I'm in a survivor pool. I'm in, whatever, I can participate in with athletics. I love it. I try and play basketball. Unfortunately, we can't do that in COVID-19. So I'm afraid of the injuries that's going to happen when I do go back and play. But what is it that is your hobby, and how much does it cost? How much are you going to be spending money on in retirement based on that hobby? And understanding to, go back to that budget. Do I have enough in my budget to be able to afford that? Healthcare in retirement should be pretty easy, right? Medicare. Well, Medicare is going to cover my expenses. I've got Medicare to cover me. Well, you know what? If you make too much money, they're going to tax you for your Medicare. They're going to make you pay for part of it. If you're collecting Social Security, but you have a pension and you have other income, you're going to have to pay taxes on Social Security. And Social Security may increase your tax bracket. So it goes back, it's kind of a full circle. Let's go from healthcare back up to the first line there where it says taxes. Taxes, whether it's a healthcare cost, whether it's just your normal bills, sales taxes, We're going to be spending money in retirement. So knowing what that's going to look like. Now, premiums, you might have to pay a premium for your healthcare. And people say, well, no, I don't have to pay a premium. I have Kaiser, right? I don't have to pay anything out of pocket. That's great. What happens if you move out of state and you move to a state that doesn't have a Kaiser? Do you know how much you're going to spend on healthcare? Well, we got to talk to pensions. We got to figure out what is it going to cost you in retirement to be able to, keep a similar healthcare plan, out-of-pocket expenses, and then long-term care. Long-term care here in Southern California will average around $8,000 a month, and an estimated time frame of how much you're going to be in a long-term care facility or need long-term care is just under 3 years. Okay, I'm not going to do the mathematics for you. It's on a Wednesday night after 6 p.m., so my math brain turns off. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in order for you to have a comfortable end of life in a long-term care facility. And the other thing about healthcare that people don't recognize is it's increasing by almost 6% in cost per year. Now, inflation, we talk about inflation and we're worried about inflation. That's only about 2%, just over 2% per year. Healthcare costs go up at an average of 6% per year right now. And it's probably not going to slow down because it just costs more for pharmaceutical companies, for all the technology advancements, for all of the research and development that these companies are putting out there. They expect to get their money back for that. And who's going to pay for that? Well, the people who are using those products. So healthcare is a huge expense that we need to pay attention to for retirement. Now, I'm going to take a time out. If you need to stand up, stretch, shake your shoulders out, catch the score of the Celtics Miami Heat game, whatever you need to do right now. But what I want you to recognize is we do have a question and answer box, and Greg, Survivor, does rock Survivor pools. So if you have a question, please put it in there. I will make sure that I try to answer those as best as possible throughout the presentation, but I will also kind of go back to it later to make sure I cover that. So somebody did have a question. It says, do you have a budget form? I do have a budget form. It's in an Excel spreadsheet that I can email to you. If you need a copy of it, I can send it to you. And it has macros in it. So the macros basically will help you to calculate the numbers for you. So you know how much you're spending, you know what your income is, and so you know what your gap is. So I'm happy to send that to you. And at the end of the presentation, I will have my phone number and email address included in there for you guys to be able to reach out to me. All right, now after the stretching is over, getting a beverage of your choice, feel free to partake. I'm not, but what I'm going to move forward with is how to assess where your income is going to be in retirement. So with your, the sources of your income, and then how it's taxed, and what should I be pulling from first? And so basically think of this as your number one source of income. If you have a pension, that's going to kick on pretty quickly. And making sure that you understand the the timing. I have people come in and they say, oh, I heard I'm not going to get my first pension check for maybe 6 weeks or 2 months after I retire. Well, that's a possibility, but let's get a definite answer for you. Let's make sure that we're reaching out to the right people to understand when should you expect your first paycheck? What is that paycheck going to look like? And then when should I turn on other sources of income? Should I turn on my Social Security right away? Well, you can't collect Social Security until you're age 62. So that's the first point. And you're going to take a discount if you start collecting at 62. So should I wait till 64, 65, 67, when I actually hit my retirement age, according to the IRS, or should I wait till 70 when I get the most money? Well, those are questions we can help you answer. Now, retirement accounts, should I pull from deferred comp? Should I take money out of my savings, my checking account, where should I use, what sources should I use? And then how am I going to get taxed on that? So I like to share this slide and talk to you guys about people who have made mistakes in retirement, and we can learn from other people's mistakes. And I'm not trying to make fun of them, but they didn't get proper guidance or advice before making huge financial decisions. So I had a retiree come in a year ago. So this was, let's say, May of 2019. No, it was actually March of 2019. And he said, Chris, I need some help because I have to pay a lot of money in taxes. And I said, okay, well, I don't have any money for you to borrow to help cover those taxes costs. So I'm not sure what you need my information for. It's too late. You owe the IRS. I can't help you anymore. But he just needed to make sure he didn't make any future mistakes, right? So he said, I don't want to make the same mistake. So he retired in 2018 and he took out $100,000 from his deferred compensation to do renovations on his property, on his house, to fix up his property. And his wife made a very good income. She was, well over six figures. He had a very good pension, and then he took out $100,000. Now, he's pushing himself into the highest tax bracket. And this is going back into 2018 when the old taxes were still around. He got crushed. So he said, Chris, I owe $60,000 in taxes. And I said, okay, well, in order for you to pay off $60,000 in taxes, you're going to have to take out another $100,000 from your retirement account at Voya to cover $60,000, because you're going to push yourself back into the highest tax bracket, and you're going to have to pay almost 40% in taxes in order for you to cover that $60,000 in taxes. Now, if you know what happened in 2018, December 2018, the stock market plummeted. So this gentleman removed $200,000 of his own money, and then he lost 22% because of the market. So we're talking about somebody who had a sizable retirement account, and now it almost got cut in half because of just poor decisions that he made. So when we're talking about income and retirement and which account, it's not just how do I pay my monthly bills. People have expenses that they want to cover. They want to do things in retirement. So we try to help people to be able to understand when you should do it. So my recommendation for this gentleman would have been, hey, take out 50 grand in 2018, finance the rest, take out a HELOC, take out another 50 grand in 2019, spread this out over a few years. I understand people don't want to pay interest. They don't like HELOC rates, whatever it is, but there's strategy behind what we do and how to help. Okay. And I like to use actual stories for you who can learn and be able to grab from them. A couple things, I'm getting some questions. People are telling me stuff. Going back to the budget, just want to make sure that you also know that at the LAPFCU website, there is a money management tab if you log into your online account, and you'll be able to get a great budgeting tool there as well. So that's something to note and to make sure that you understand there's resources. If there are debts that you're looking to get addressed, or you want to cover some credit card or some debts that you owe before focusing on retirement, we also have tools available online to be able to get a financial coach that would help you through budgeting and making sure that you're on the right track to cover those debts. So the credit union kind of has everything, covered. Now, a couple other questions. I had people, ask specific questions about, I've been on the job for 25 years. Should I enter drop now? Should I wait for the 3% increase? those are specific questions for each of you that I would love to handle on an individual basis, but I do have a slide at the back end that will talk about drop that we'll be able to address. And then another question was, how much does California tax on our pensions? California does not give you any allowances on government pensions, so you're going to get taxed at whatever your tax rate is. So based on what your income, you can go onto the Franchise Tax Board website and be able to see where you would fall and how much you would pay in taxes. And then can I take small amounts such as $5,000 a month from deferred comp and save on taxes? Well, anytime you take money out of deferred comp, you're going to pay taxes. The only way to not pay taxes is to leave it there, but eventually you're going to pay taxes. Again, let's talk about strategy. If you take out a small portion over a year and you take that out over years, you will end up being in a lower tax bracket each year, and you will pay taxes on a smaller rate than to take out a big lump sum that would potentially move you into a higher tax bracket. It's a great question, but again, it's going to be something that I need a calculator to kind of help you within our office or in the branch. Okay, moving forward. Pay attention to order, type of income. So you can notice we've had 3 slides on what type of income you're going to receive in retirement. How is this going to fund my goals? How is this going to fund what I need to do in retirement? Well, Social Security is usually the #1 source of fixed income for anybody who doesn't have a pension. Social Security was not designed to be a retirement plan. It was supposed to supplement your retirement, because if we go back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, pretty much every company had a pension, and Social Security just helped get you over the top on a monthly basis to supplement your pension, what your pension didn't cover. Well, now a lot of people rely on Social Security and solely, and that's a detriment, especially if we see issues with Social Security, if we see that decrease. But one of the things that I like to do is, if I show that first, if you look at every single column here, as you take money out of each of these, there are tax implications. Now, Social Security is not typically taxed. Is not typically taxed, but it can be taxable if you make too much money. But it can also bump you into a higher tax bracket. So if you think of these columns as building upon each other, it can push you into a higher tax bracket as well. So again, it's something to understand. And then we talk about it as an asset. IRA, 401k distributions, those are taxed at just your normal tax rate. What I want to say about I probably should put 457 distributions, deferred compensation distributions, because that's the majority of our audience. Most of the folks who are signed in today, work for the government or, have government 457 plans. If you are in a 457 plan, you will be taxed upon taking distributions from that. If you take a 457 distribution before the age of 59 and a half, you only pay taxes. You do not pay a 10% penalty as anybody who's in a 401k, a 403b, or an IRA would pay. So you need to understand the type of retirement plan you're in with your employer so that you get good guidance on, should I roll over to an IRA? Should I take distributions from my 457? How are my taxes going to be implicated based on these distributions? So just make sure you have all the answers that you need to make the best financial decisions. All right, going to move forward. Dividend income, long-term capital gains. Those are going to be based on investments that you may have in the stock market, stocks, property, real estate. And again, the taxes are going to be based on where do you fall on your adjusted gross income, AGI. All right, we're getting to that. We're a little bit past the halfway point, so I'm going to make sure we cover as much information as possible. I want to leave time at the end to be able to answer more questions. and give you guys the information that you guys are looking for tonight. Okay, retirement. Did I save enough to cover the income gaps? So the sources of retirement savings. So my employer retirement plan, 457, 401k, 403b. The 457, 401k, 403b, those monikers, those numbers are strictly an IRS code. It's just how the IRS deciphers what type of employer retirement plan you are a part of. A 401k is a for-profit organization. A 403b is a non-profit organization. A 457 is a government entity. So just understanding, what that entails, because each of them have specific rules and guidelines to how you can take money out and how much you can contribute, all of those things. Individual retirement accounts. People ask me all the time and they say, can I create a joint account for my retirement plan or for my retirement account? No, it's an individual retirement. It's based on each social security number. So you can't have a joint on your IRA, you have beneficiaries. Your beneficiary, make sure that you have that updated. I know most of you have heard stories of somebody got divorced, they got remarried, they never changed their beneficiary on their retirement account, they pass away, and the ex gets all of their retirement amount. So make sure that you understand, who your money's being left to. This is when I start talking about trusts and estate planning, living trusts, a will. This is not a trust or living will seminar, so I'm not going to go into detail. But as an individual retirement account or as a beneficiary for your employer plan, if you are married or you have a domestic partner, they should be listed first because there are benefits for them to receive that as your spouse or your domestic partner. Then your contingent beneficiary should be a trust. And that basically just, covers your bases. I just throw that in there to make sure that people understand that this is a talking point we need to discuss. But make sure that you do have a living trust in the state of California. It truly is the best way to pass property on to the beneficiaries that you want it to go to, especially property, especially your home. Okay, moving forward, self-employment plans. So many of you may have a business or may own your own business outside of your current job or profession. You can contribute to an additional retirement plan. You can contribute to a self-employed, they call it a SEP plan. You can do a simple IRA, a solo 401k. You can put more money aside if this is something that you would like to do. If you are self-employed and have questions, let us know. We'll be able to provide information for you. Investment accounts. So many of you may have an E-Trade, a Charles Schwab account. You might have stocks. You might just have an Ally Bank or a savings account. I opened up the CD at Capital One because they were giving me 2.75%, and now they're only going to give me 0.05% on my CD. What do I do? Understand what to do with those investment accounts, or making sure that you get proper guidance or counsel on how do I utilize those accounts, but then how do I make sure I'm getting the best interest rates? And this is my tagline for the credit union. The credit union, many of you might not think so, but the interest rates on the shared certificates are some of the highest out there right now. I see brokered CDs, I see CDs that are being issued by other institutions, and the rates are horrible. So the credit union actually has very good shared certificate rates. Give us a call so we can at least tell you what those are and see if it's the right fit for you. If you're looking for a higher interest rate than what that shared certificate is offering you, give us a call, give me a call specifically, and I'll tell you what's out there. And you'll be shocked. Has a lot to do with the yield, what the short-term interest rates are for government bonds, short duration bonds. It's just not good. When COVID started in March, The interest rates drop down to zero. The Fed is taking care of the United States as a whole, as individuals, and so there's just no yield. So making sure you understand where to go find that can be a tough navigation right now. Your bank accounts and then insurance policies. Sometimes your insurance policies will have some cash value, making sure you know what type of policy you have, and we can help give you guidance on that. All right, now we're moving into how much should I take out? So this is specifically answering a question that came in about taking small amounts of money out each month from my deferred comp to save on taxes. This is what we call your withdrawal rate. The withdrawal rate basically has huge implications on how much. So if we go back to that same story that I shared earlier of the gentleman who was getting crushed by taxes because he took out 2 big chunks of money in 2 consecutive years. Well, he was taking out 10% withdrawal rates and 15 and 20% withdrawal rates instead of taking a smaller amount systematically to help cover costs. And it really hurt him. I'm going to skip through this slide. This is a kind of fun slide to look at. When you retire and how much you take out can make an impact in your retirement. If you had a nest egg of $500,000 and you were taking out 5% annually each year, and you had a portfolio that was invested in 60% stocks, 30% bonds, and 10% cash, and what would my results look like after a 10-year time frame? Well, if you retired in 1980, you would have taken out, right? If you're doing this for 10 years at a 5% distribution rate, okay, so that's $25,000 per year, 10 years, you would have taken out $250,000 in each of these scenarios. If you retired in 1980, in 1990, you would have still had $865,000. You would have collected $250,000 and you would have had $865,000 because the market had great returns. You would have capitalized from an improved economy. If you retired in 1990, you would have capitalized from the internet boom when Al Gore created the internet, and he made so much money for himself and his family because he was this great creative technology mind. Oh wait, no, he wasn't. But you would have capitalized from the stock market growing over that 10-year period of time, and you would have had $930,000. Well, if you retired in 2000, it's a completely different story, right? You would have lost money because you would have been taking out too much. And in the early 2000s, the internet boom busted. And then we know what happened in the late 2007, 2008, 2009, we had the real estate crisis. And so the timing and how you're invested can really hurt. So just making sure that you understand, what that looks like. This slide here is basically about a diversified portfolio. If you look in the left column, this is the highest performing asset classes historically from 2000. My 2020 got, 2019 is there, but 2020, we don't have results yet. But if you look at the highest performing asset classes, you'll see U.S. small cap. In 2002, when the internet boom busted, well, U.S. bonds were the highest performing because all of the stocks were down. U.S. small cap growth was the lowest performing. Small cap, that's your that's your startup companies. When startup companies are not able to flourish, they're going to be the worst performing. But you can see that in great years in the stock market, it's small cap, it's large cap. Small cap tends to do the best just because those are your startup companies. And some of those startup companies turn out to be Tesla or Amazon, Apple. Some of those startup companies turn out to be, Acme that doesn't go anywhere. Blew up the Roadrunner. So, but the years when the stock market's not performing, you have bonds that perform or kind of cover your investment. But in 2018, we talked about how bad that December was in 2018. Cash was the number one performing asset, which is crazy. It outperformed bonds. Bonds were down too. And if you look on the right side, what I want to show you is cash does not give you enough return. You got to do some type of investments. You got to be able to put your money into something, because cash tends to be the lowest performing asset historically, because it doesn't even keep up with inflation. But this slide is basically kind of guiding you to a diversified portfolio. All right, navigating stormy seas. This is what everybody wants to hear about, especially when stock market loses, 2, 3, 5% in a week. What do I do? How should I be allocated? Where should I put my money? I'm going to retire next year. Should I go all to stable value? Should I go all to cash? Well, this money that you have in your retirement accounts, it has to last you 30, 40 years. You have to account for life expectancy, and then if I live beyond life expectancy. Many of you in your family have people who have lived into their late 80s, their 90s, maybe even 100. And so you might be that one that continues to live through your 90s. Well, you've got to make this money last. Well, I'm going to go back to the previous slide, and this will tell you that if I'm going to live this long, there are going to be years like this year where maybe the market's really crazy, but I've got to stay invested long term. I've got to stick with some small cap. I got to stick with some large cap, because I need returns, even though some years it's not going to give me that return that I'm looking for. I'm going to lose some money, but the next year I'm going to get it back. So you have to stay invested. Now, having a portfolio that's balanced will help you long term. And what that means, I'm going to skip ahead here. No, sorry, I don't have the slide. If you took a 100% S&P 500 portfolio from January 1st of 2000 to December 31st of 2019, your portfolio would have been up 5.3% every year. I would have averaged 5.3% for the last 19 years. But if I went with 60% in the S&P 500 and 40% in intermediate bonds, I would have averaged 5.8% per year. That's a 0.5% increase, because I had some built-in protection, because I had that buffer on the downside. So when we talk about navigating stormy seas, it really is that idea of staying invested, a balanced portfolio. And what should my balanced portfolio look like? Well, you got to talk to me in a one-on-one basis so we can help give you that guidance. Bonds, the rates are so low right now. It's historic lows. There's just not, but it still provides some protection against downturns in markets. When we deal with volatility, stay invested. This is the slide to talk about staying invested. If you miss even a few months of the best days on the stock market, it makes a huge impact on your portfolio. So if you invested $10,000 in the S&P index in December 31st of 2004, and you left it just in that portfolio till December 31st of 2019, and just set it and forget it, you would have averaged 9% per year. Now, if you missed the 10 best days of the stock market, so you freaked out, you sold all of your large cap, and you went to stable value because you didn't want to see it go down anymore, you would have only made 4.13%. Just because of 10 days on the market, you were down 5% on your portfolio on an annualized basis. That's huge. And then if you missed the 30 best days, now we're talking about negative returns. So This slide is basically just saying, once we set a strategy in place for you, you got to feel comfortable to leave it in place and be able to weather that storm no matter what it brings you. Now, going back 2 slides. So the other thing I want to talk about is when we're talking about navigating stormy seas and we talked about cash, cash has barely kept pace with inflation over time. Inflation is up 209% in 36 years. The Dow Jones is up 1,287% in those same 36 years. The S&P 500 is up 1,600%. So if you're worried about inflation, just be invested in the stock market because it will outperform inflation because it has historically. Okay. Now, I'm not making any promises. Full disclosure, we got to make sure that you understand that investments can go up, they can go down, and there is risk. So, but understanding that we can only use the information from history to be able to dictate what we see from, for the future. All right, and then somebody asked the question, how long can it take before I pull my drop funds in retirement? Drop is not your 457. Your drop is a pension rollover. And here we go, drop best practices. Your drop is a pension rollover, and if you are under 59 and a half years of age, you will be taxed plus a 10% penalty for any money you take from your drop account. If you roll drop to Voya, they will separate it from your 457 contributions. And if you take money out of that drop account, you are taxed plus a 10% penalty, even though you're pulling it from a 457 plan. So again, this is knowledge, right? It's about information and knowing what to do, where to pull money from. Let's talk about drop. So for those of you who are drop eligible, we have a ton of questions that come from people every day. Should I enter drop now when I'm going to get a 3.5% pay increase in January? And from that, if I wait another year, that's another 3% towards my pension. That's a 6.5% increase in 1 year if I wait until January or February of 2022. What should I do, Chris? Well, let's talk through the numbers. I pull out the calculator and I tell you how much of a difference that's going to be, but then I tell you how many years it's going to take for you to for it to be beneficial for you to wait. Usually it's about 7 or 8 years. So 7 or 8 years from when you actually retire. So if we do all 5 years of drop, we add another 7 years. 12 years from today, or 12 years from when you enter drop, is when you would benefit by waiting. How comfortable do you feel benefiting waiting 12 years? Well, that's up to you. I just give you the numbers and then we kind of talk through what your benefits are. But okay, so what I want to share here with drop. So 2 things. One is I know all the ins and outs of drop. I know what the best practices are. I know how it works. So if you have questions, please call me. I know you guys go to drop seminars. They can get confusing. They spend 8 hours to tell you what I can give you in 20 minutes. So, come ask me those questions. The other thing about drop is pensions is not taking any in-person visits. Pensions will set up a phone call. So for any of you who are in drop or you're dropping soon, they're going to send you this pension packet. It's going to have a bunch of papers in it. You're not going to know what each document means. Bring it into the branch. We'll help you fill it out and make sure you understand exactly what it's asking you before you get on the call with pensions. And pensions is great. They give you the answers, but they're inundated. So those are the 2 things. We know the ins and outs to help you understand if you want to enter drop or if you're in drop, and then how to complete the paperwork for drop. And then lastly, what should I do with my money? Do I leave it there? Do I send it to Voya? Do I take it out and pay taxes plus penalty? We can help give you guidance on making sure you understand what the right thing to do with drop is based on what you need, based on what your goals are. So who can help me sort this out? Give us a call. we'll set up a review for you. And then lastly, this goes into the review. We have a financial planning software that we can take all your financial data and we basically say, okay, what does retirement look like for you? What do you want? When do you want to retire? How much are you going to need? What are you going to do in retirement? I'm going to travel. I got to pay for college for Sarah. That's down there at the bottom. My living expenses. This is how much it's going to cost me for healthcare. Do I have enough coming in to cover what I'm going to spend in retirement? And it will compute a score. This is something that we do complimentary for any member of the credit union. So I tell everybody, take advantage of this. You go to another financial institution, they're going to charge you thousands of dollars to go through this same plan. And if you paid thousands of dollars to do something like this, I apologize to you. We would have done it for free. But this just gives you the guidance you need to, one, feel comfortable about making the right decision to retire and feeling comfortable about retirement so that you're not as stressed and towards the end there. So if you have questions about this, I have a sample plan that I can email you. It's like a 68-page document. These things are fully comprehensive. We did a make-believe one on Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill. They had a family and then they wanted to retire. So we give you Jack and Jill's retirement, and then it gives you an idea of what we can put together for you guys. All right, I had another question. What should I do with OT, sick, vacation? All of the funds that they're going to pay you out, right? The cash payout at the end of retirement or before you go into retirement. And this happens with every person who's going to retire. Any unused vacation, you're able to get a check for that, but you could also have that go towards your deferred comp. You can fund your deferred comp with any used OT, sick, or vacation time. So my recommendation is always to max that out. That OT, sick, and vacation is part of your deferred compensation, the 457 plan. So if you take that out 2 months after you retire, you're still only going to pay regular taxes on it. You're not going to pay a penalty. So it's a great question. Happy to go into more detail with you if you have questions on it. And then other questions. Okay, separation incentive check, same question. So these are great. Appreciate you guys participating and putting those in because we want to answer your individual questions. So with that, if there's any other questions, feel free to type them in. My information is right there. That's my direct line to the office at the credit union. That's my email address. I'll leave this slide on there so you can write that down. I don't take this position for granted to provide investment advice for those people who spend their day out there to provide protection and service for us is extremely important. And you have earned the money that you're going to be paid for retirement. You've earned the money that you have accrued for retirement. And so we want to make sure that we give you the best information possible so that you have the answers. And really the idea is to make sure that you feel comfortable with retirement, that you're ready to go and you don't have any worries, right? That's my job. I'm the one that gets shingles. I'm the one that, has high blood pressure. I got young kids. I'm going to be at the credit union for at least the next 25 years. So I'm stuck. So take advantage of what's available to you. And I thank you guys for attending. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. More questions, I'll stay online for a few more minutes to be able to answer those. But thank you guys. I appreciate it. Question came in on the basics for how to start developing a plan. Well, really, the idea is starting with the budget, right? So start with your budget. How much do I have coming in? Because that will dictate how much you're able to save. And based on how much you're able to save, that's just going to create a better retirement for you. So that's the basics. shoot me an email, Greg, let me know, and I'll be able to kind of send you the budget and then help you with some other things to think about. Which branch do I work out of? I'm able to take appointments at any branch. So usually, as you know, this credit union caters to its members. We will come to the branch that's most convenient for you. My office is at the Elysian Park branch. For those of you who have gone into the branch, you'll see me in the glass box as you walk up to the teller. So that's my little cage. If I'm in there and no one's there, just knock on the door. You can ask any questions, but I'm happy to meet at a convenient location for you. All right. Still some more. Yes, we are going to send out this presentation to everybody who signed up. So anybody who wasn't able to attend, if you're talking about it tomorrow, because I know I'm the talk of the town outside of everything else that's going on, you're able to send me that information. I can forward them the video or just contact them directly. And I see the different emails that are coming in about the retirement plans. If I failed to get that to you, because I'm not sure how this is going to save and be able to see those, but I will do the best I can to get it to you guys tonight. More specific questions about pulling from drop or deferred comp, just give me a call. It's a pretty easy conversation to go through over the phone. All right, Donna, I can do the Pro Guide or the Money Guide Pro Plan. Just call me so I can get all of your specific information to be able to send it to you. I can send you a sample if you let me know what your email address is. Have a nice night too, Greg. Yes, you'll have access to the slides later. I can send out the presentation specifically to each of you if you request it so you can review it. Daniels, give me a call and we'll set up an appointment. Shauna, I'm a registered investment advisor, so we can pretty much help you with any type of financial planning that you need, whether that's investments, allocations, just let me know. Which services are included for LAPSU members and which are free or which are for fee? I tell everybody that the advice is free. Clearly, I have no problem talking. The advice is free. When we start managing assets and we start doing investments or investment planning for you, that's when we're going to have fees associated with it. And we're happy to fully disclose what those fees are and what you're paying for. So, please let me know if you have more questions regarding that. SIP. I apologize for those folks who did not get information on the SIP. So yes, I know about the SIP. Give me a call so we can help you. I know most of you who are already have received it or are in the process of retiring, but we can give you some guidance and we can also show you how the SIP would fit into your retirement plan through the Money Guide Pro. Maya, let me know. I'll reach out to you. All right, more people want the presentation. Is your schedule super swamped like the retirement counselor and pensions? No, my schedule is swamped because I have kids learning from home. My wife's a high school teacher, so it's trying to balance between going to the branches and being at home. So that's where my swamp is. No, I think we do a good job of being able to provide the information and, my livelihood is dependent on doing a good job for you, whereas retirement counselors and pensions, I hate to say it, they're on they've got job security. I've got to do a good job or the credit union is going to kick me out. So yeah, just let me know what you need, Marty, and we'll be able to help you. I don't do living wills and trusts. We have some preferred attorneys that we work with. So I'm happy to share that information with you, Daryl. So I can send you that contact list. SIP is only for civilian, not for sworn, correct? And there are some other agencies within the state of California that are doing a SIP or an ERIP or other type of early pension or early retirement options. Sworn, that's based on collective bargaining with your union. And I don't see sworn getting a SIP. All right, I will do the best I can to get everybody's email and update. That's the last of the questions I have. Thank you all for attending. I greatly appreciate it. If you have more questions, you know how to get in touch with us. You guys have a great night. And I appreciate your time and thank you for your loyalty to the credit union. We do appreciate that.